zone. Finally gonna move, and 50 seconds for teams to find their spot inside of the zone. Luckily for a lot of these guys, they've already rotated, done a lot of the work up until this point. Just like Bucky and Okus, 200 above at this stage in the game. That's more than some players that we've seen struggle just to get to this point. As AV goes down to Let's, who's still doing a good job here, picking up points after points, damage after damage to get themselves a nice, comfortable spot, just like Jamper and Cam.
But even if you have a nice spot, if you don't have many heals, that could be problematic. Now, I can't speak for Jamper necessarily, but only 5 minis here for Cam leads me to believe that he's going to have to try and find a refresh elsewhere. Bugha, on the other hand, sitting in a slightly better position, I think, with those 4 Chug Splashes. But again, when you think about the duration that some of these endgame heal-offs can actually take place, I don't feel as though any of these players are really feeling that fantastic about having anything less than maybe 2 pizzas at this point.
And they're just judging by the zone alone, these players don't know how lucky they might have just gone. If that went to the north, if that went to the northeast at that, there's a huge mountain, literally, that they would have to climb. Larson and Smite, you see them peeking through. Quickly edited, resetting that to try to give them as much visibility as possible. Bucky doing the same thing, but chopping down the tree right in front, letting him know that if anybody crosses his path, that's who he's trying to take those shots at.
Always nice to have good visibility, and right now what Bucky sees is that Pars has a bit of a building here up at the top, but Trashy Pump looks as though they want to try and challenge the high ground. Pump just slightly short, though, making it all the way up. Agers and Kanata as well going to eat a couple of pump shots there from Pars. And now Pars just looking to find tags wherever he can. But with so many builds, Jacob, it's going to be a while before anybody can challenge that Sky Empire.
Yeah, but a team that is ready to challenge either the high ground or the low ground. Epic, well, and Reet, one of the best controller players in the world right now. One of, because there's so many players really lighting it up. Kanata as well, along with Agers, newfound spot over towards the racetrack. Faring very, very well, still having those 5 splashes, depending on if they have game time or any augments that you typically see here towards the end game. They're in such a good spot, depending on where this next zone does pull.
You'd almost see the cogs spinning there in Kanata's mind in terms of deciding where to go next. Miro, on the other hand, as far as he's concerned, he just wants to go up. He wants to try and get more visibility of this lobby and see where exactly he should try and carp out next. Cooper and Miro, though. Cooper possibly holding a little bit more splashes, I'd hope, than where Miro was standing, because he just used his last one.
Yeah, I gotta hope, pray. Sabaka and Pars, none of that, though. They're the players that are high in the sky. They built themselves layer upon layer to get that and hold it as long as possible. No one really able to take notes from Vivid and really look up like he does to Levin. If anybody can able to do that, that's going to force them down right into their hands to where they're going to have to kinetic blade to safety. And you see there's no other high layers into the distance, which means they're going to be dropped down to size.
I almost don't blame these players, though, given how much congestion is actually taking place in a lot of these mid and low ground layers. There is just so much to work through to try and actually take in. And now for threats, next to Bugha, I like how they're working side by side. They don't want to try and overextend here, because you never know, which box might actually have more than just one player in it.
You see, have more than enough heals to make this a possibility. Nexi goes down. That's Epic Whale's on the hunt. Valuable loot for their end game. A weak Rise on the other side, only if he knew it, as he sneaks up on a whole nother team, peeking through the cone. You can see him going up a whole nother layer. There's so many players congested towards the low ground. He wants no part of it, and Ager goes down, leaving all the pressure onto Kanata, one of Fortnite's best solo clutchers.
Kanata, he only has 2 splashes left. If he wants to play heal off, he's gonna have to try and find a refresh down below, just like Cam just did. Sears going to find himself waiting for the next battle bus, but for right now, Cam still only has those 5 minis at his disposal. Epic Whale on the other hand, a beautiful refresh, and Kanata no longer having to worry about playing as a solo.
Gets denied that top 9. Chubbs, Bryce, we saw them already win off the spawn over towards Brutal Bastion. That's how they would get the Mythic Havoc, and they use it to take down threats. Bugha's partner goes down. He's stuck as a solo. Bryce and Chubbs playing like they're solos, separated too far, just trying to stay alive. Anything that they get their hands on at this point, even if it's just one slice of pizza left over from somewhere else. Jamper finds Zuki slipping. That's a huge refresh for him in his game, because he doesn't have heals, so the siphons mean so much.
And Jamper, he's able to actually find another one. And now it's just Chubbs, but Chubbs he doesn't have the HP to play with. It's going to be Jamper with the ODM gear, but Epic Whale will make sure that he can't continue. It's an ODM gear again. to safety for the time being.
He needs a splash. He needs to pop the slurp juice. Pars is on the hunt. Baka has the high ground. He has all the heals. This is where the heal off is going to begin. 5 teams still alive. Nobody really has that upper hand when it comes to Baka and Pars. They're on the hunt. Back to the vault towards Shattered Slabs, hoping anything is left over. Pam, he's going to use the last bit of corn. Apples, nothing's left. Epic Will might have the best chance to take it all. A few slices of pizza. Slurp juice in action. Redux taking Storm Sickness. Baka runs out of time. Pam runs out of time as well. Epic Will from missing week number 1, advancing to the finals, taking the game.
That's a way to make a statement. He might not have been after waiting to let Iyamzu escape for the time being, but still, Reet and Epic Will in a bit of a fickle position here now, just constantly being stuck inside all of these boxes, trying to find whatever crevices they can. Gotta be careful though for Reet, eating a lot of damage right now in terms of ticks from the storm. Only 2 chug splashes left after popping his last legendary slurp juice, and now Reet, Epic Will, definitely trying to keep in mind that it's about the placements, it's about staying on top. And when you've already got 1 victory royale to start the day, every other point counts.
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily worry me too much because if last game proved anything, Reet's the kind of fragger. He's the guy you send down to try to stop all the heal offs, while Epic Will is the one playing said heal off. With even Skittles, you can see from the vault loot towards Brutal Bastion to the overclocked post rifles at the Rift Island. They're ready to dominate this game. They're trying to contest for that high ground momentarily, but they're just getting pressured, sent back down low, and this is where it's all going to break down. Booga's just a little weak. This could be a recipe for success as Aviv and Skittles, instead of fighting, they just steal away the high ground in a convincing fashion.
Aviv and Skittles bound to have noticed the fact that Booga didn't seem as though he was all that interested in challenging right away, so probably could tell that Booga just didn't have the HP to tango for the time being. But now, Kanata, Azure, they need something because their loadouts are not what you would be looking for moving into these final zones.
Yeah, Refresh is going to do so much in terms of items, damage to the threshold, their continued journey in this game. One's going to get knocked. Agers takes down Smite. I don't even think he gets the loot for that one. That's Bryce and Chubbs who come in and steal that one away. Aviv and Skittles know that pressure all too well over towards Brutal Bastion, but Peekaboo, Kanata sees you, lands a great shot, but takes a bigger one, but he got what he came for. He got those splashes, but still under pressure. There's more than 2 teams still on this location. He's still staying so far into the zone. He's getting rewarded for his efforts at the very minimum.
Dukes and Edgy doing what they can now to just continue pressing inside of the storm. They want to remain inside the zone for as long as possible, keep as many resources as long as possible. For Empen, Polarized, right up into the air. Epic Will, Reet, they're actually going to drop a layer. No, Reet's going to drop entirely. He's been knocked for the time being, but Epic Will able to find a knock of his own in the process. That's going to buy him a little bit of time, but the question is, Jacob, will it buy him enough of a siphon refresh?
When it comes to the HP, he quickly answers that one. Yes, it gave me 90 HP overall, but he's running out of builds, has no heals. He's going to be looking for an unsuspecting team that he can kind of sneak up on and take advantage here. Even finding his way back through his own mess. His maze that he built early on in this game as Muzz has 5 slices of pizza. Already going to be forced to use that 2. Dejan goes down. He calls out the loot, and that's why he's going back into the zone for it. Duke and Edgy, they have 3 eliminations, but no heals as well. A lot of these players' heal-off opportunity is well and far out that window.
After a certain point, all the walls begin to look the same here for a lot of these players who are trying to scramble around, trying to remember where they might have left a piece or 2 of loot that might make the difference. But for Muzz, he's going to be Elam shortly after Kanata. Dukes, Edgy, still up for the time being, still making it happen despite not having heals. Duke and Edgy, they might be able to find Elams.
Yeah, trying to teamwork make the dream work. Koyo's by himself. Keyboard goes down. Koyo's gone as well, but 8 eliminations for their efforts. They did more than enough to have a respectable game into this one. Rokane trying to keep him in first position on the leaderboard alive. Into the top 6 we go. Zone's not even fully closed yet. I don't even know if this one's going to come to a convincing heal-off. This is going to be a battle for scraps.
But Bucky, as a solo, he's been slinking his way through all of these mid-ground layers. But he's finally taken note of.
Oh, wow.
As now, Baka, Pars, in a little bit of a power play position here, Jacob, because they've actually got 5 splashes. He's got 6 minis to work with. The question is whether or not he can get it to the top, and it's going to be the chop down for Skittles. finally sent, but he's way off into the abyss. But Aviv manages to find his way onto the next high ground layer.
Skittles just trying to go ahead and stop everybody's run. They both go down, but that's a trade. It's going to be up to Baka against Aviv. Heel off, pizza, splashes. You can see Pars trying to lead the charge. He's not going to get credit for that siphon, though, so he has to go back down to business. Somewhere out of nowhere, Aviv finds a Medmiss, scrounges around all the loot that he can find. Baka's trying to put himself deeper in the zone, try to find some more heals that him and Pars set up with. This is the north side of the map. They could have left any bit of scraps to work with, but he is fresh out. He has to find a miracle, or Aviv is going to be able to take the game. He finds at least one flopper. He pops it in time. Him versus Aviv. Who's going to find the heals? Who's going to win the game? And Baka steals it away with the last flopper to take it all.
That was a flopper of destiny, if I've ever seen one. The last to get lost in the chaos of exactly where these teams might actually be trickling in from. Kanata and Aegis, on the other hand, though, they don't have to worry about the congestion that's taking place down in those bottom layers. No, instead, they've got a great view of the lobby for the time being. And with one elimination already under their belt, Kanata, more so than anything else, I think, just trying to keep tabs on whether or not anyone can even challenge their current height control.
Exactly that. You're going to have Agers kind of lead the charge, and Kanata's going to be the guard. Pars and Baka setting themselves up. 5 splashes, depending on what Baka has, more than enough to at least play a good portion of that heal off. Add into the fact that they have game time, it's going to make it that much better. But a position wouldn't really have expected them to be in. 61 below the damage threshold, but they're ready for any challenge, especially knowing it takes one well-placed Havoc shot to kind of even the score. Just like Vert and Rokaine, Calm Cool collected, they did more than enough at this stage of the game. You can see Vert activating that slurp juice to kind of make sure he's safe to rotate from point A to point B. They know how converged all these players are going to get here.
But for Baka and Pars, they know that they're below that damage threshold. They've got to get a move on. They found their opening. Baka with a great shot connection, and it's still barely enough to get them out of the danger zone. And with only being 3 above, you know that they're going to be looking for more here. But Epic Whale, he's left as a solo. He's just trying to clutch it out best he can.
Literally almost where we left off, below the threshold. Back against the wall, forced to really think of something. Luckily for him, he has those 3 splashes. He has the legendary slurp juice to try to out-heal it, but as he connects blades through the sky, he's going to be looking for anybody there, high ground, low ground, all around to try to take advantage and catch off guard. Very similar to Rise early on in this game, where he was able to sneak away that first elimination, doing just enough damage to keep them above the threshold. They don't have to worry about Storm Surge as Vert and Rokaine catch somebody slipping, take away the floor, send them down low to the low ground, and that's Bully who's on the receiving end of that one, but they're not able to get any of the loot for it.
No, instead, they're going to have to abandon ship for the time being. Vert and Rokaine, they know they must push on. They can't take too long inside of these moving zones. Don't want to have to expend any HP unnecessarily. Epic Whale, meanwhile, 69 HP in a dream, running relatively low on builds, forced the kinetic blade up, trying to see if there's anywhere he can land where he can look for an opening of some sort, a siphon, materials off of a refresh. But Pars and Baka, again, continuing to try and keep the charge going forward. But it's the ODM gear that I think has caused a little bit more of a problem here. But Duke doesn't have any problems, not after finding that last elimination.
Not making it look easy, allowing Edgy to kind of lead the charge. His teams still have so many placement points on the board left to pick up. This is not the time to go down, especially with all the effort you put to make it to this point. Pollo is going to kind of get his run ended. Keyboard's no more, so they go back to the lobby. Agers and Kanata, last time we saw them, that monument was finally getting started, but now it's built high in the sky. Pars and Baka go down, so we're going to have a new game winner after this one. The halfway point for a lot of these teams means so much. It means how you're going to be able to play the rest of this game out as Amzo and Rise, they find an elimination along the way.
3 splashes still left for Yamzo to utilize here. Vert, though, on the other hand, double Havoc pumps, but it's not enough for him to find anything to keep his lobby life going. Instead, Trashy now looking alongside a pump, but it's Kanata who's finally forced to drop down. Kanata, though, gets knocked in the process. He thought he was getting the element of surprise, but instead it's turned.
That might not be the worst case scenario, though, because as this goes to a heal off, no one's going to get that refresh or siphon from Kanata. and any down body. As you see the game times being popped, Skittles' options are running out, but he's able to find one on the pump. He's probably stopping the heal off if he can find Trashy as well. But only has a few seconds left in the zone before it all runs out. Duke as well, leaving so much pressure on Edgy, but he doesn't find any heals. Their run comes to an end. They're gonna at least get top 4 for their efforts. Puts pressure on the Yamzo. Agers, heal off, found a way to Rift Island yet again. There could be so much loot left above, but it doesn't matter. Trashy with a pizza party and splashes galore to take the game. More than enough time left over if he wanted, but that's gonna be it.
Unity. Decent amount of builds.
Whoa.
Primarily just looking for the damage. But Pars and Baka, they were leading the charge, and now they're waiting for the next one.
3 of our top 5 teams are out of the game. A huge moment for Duke and Edgy to make up that 21-point gap. Same could be said for Aviv and Skittles, but it's Skittles who's by himself. Placement points are finally setting in. So a little bit of a sigh of relief, but it's only going to last for so long because you know your job's not done yet. Kanata and Agers trying to hold on to the high ground, and I almost like this loadout. Typically, I don't like the charge pump shotgun, but if you have high ground and you're a Kanata being the guard, trying to let Agers lead the charge, you're going to be able to pack a punch from a distance to try to deny anybody the opportunity to steal it away.
A tactical play, and can't say I'm surprised to see it coming from Kanata because word straight from his mouth, 75% IQ when it comes to playing competitive Fortnite. Booga, though, probably just happy to actually get threats back up and running here with the revive. Interesting that he's able to find a moment, despite the fact that the zone just continues to surround these teams, continue to close in around them. But Edgy, the splash is running relatively low, might find himself just looking for an opportunity to third party or sneak his way in to another player's box and sneak his way into an elimination.
Luckily for the majority of this lobby, though, it's going to be one of the more tamer zone pools that we're going to have so far. A lot of smooth ground underneath, not a lot of different elevation changes that are naturally unbreakable. Zokus and Bucky. And the key here, going through from zone 9 to zone 10, is not being that team that's stuck in all the chaos that is on the low ground, fighting for your life tooth and nail. As Edgy finally goes down into the top 20, Kanata gets dropped, so high ground's definitely up for grabs. AV, Edgy, Yamzo, Rise just trying to struggle with high ground up for taken. That's going to be Yamzo and Rise who's going to grab it and snatch it right away before anybody else even notices.
Yamzo and Rise, they certainly love playing from that high ground positioning, and if it's open, they're more than happy. Strip it away. Agers has lost Kanata, so it does seem as though what once appeared to be a very tactical maneuver didn't exactly pan out the way he would have wanted it to. Agers now also looking like he's running relatively low, has one splash left at his disposal, but it's going to be Booga and Threats. Once in a pretty fickle position, now finding themselves in decent leverage. Okius, on the other hand, knocked before he could find his way inside of Bucky's box, and now Bucky forced to play this spot as a solo.
It's a good moment at 132, currently on the leaderboard. A lot of points left up for grabs. Bucky could take a top position in our top 10. It's about how he executes here in the final moments. He gets coned off, trying to give himself that extra layer of safety before he has to rotate on out. Smite and Larson doing a good job. 1v2 situation. Down goes Booga, leaving a lot of pressure onto Threats. Booga at least gave him that second chance at life and another opportunity to call himself a superstar here on the region. As he's trying to ODM, they're staying so far into the zone. This is 11th moving, 12th is on around the corner, and the heal off will begin.
Bucky, though, having a heal off with only 10 bandages and 6 minis is not the place that you want to be. Bucky might just be looking to play spoiler here now. Batman Booga, his Threats, attempting to escape off the grind rail from the kinetic blade, but he's going to be destroyed before he actually has a chance to connect with the ground one more time. Batch and Pam's down now, though. In a decent spot, and Jamper completely caught off guard. Batch will make quick work of him. And an easy refresh can finally be found, and Bucky, he actually did connect with Batman Booga.
Yeah, they were even thinking about becoming duo partners here on the region. Bucky getting the last laugh in this game, though. He found a med miss, way better than those bandages on his side. He's at least able to outlast, but he gets toe tagged by Pamsu. Nobody is going to slip past them. The French-Canadian duo, one of the longest standing teams that we have in the lobby, making some noise, trying to outlast everybody as they get into the top 6. This is where the zone's going to close.
Like, they don't have heals. All they can do now is hope for the refreshes, and Bucky will just add on to the pile here. Fatch getting the credit for that one, but way up in the air, it's going to be Yamzo just continuing to tarp out above everyone else. Larson, though, he's got pizza, he's got splashes, and a men miss.
That's going to be it. It's all going to come down to this. You see what Yamzo's thinking. Game time's going to be popped. Huge find. Rise doing a good job of taking down multiple players, trying to stop the heal off. Larson, Storm Sickness is going to tick in. He cannot survive, so it's going to come down to a 1v1. And Yamzo, he got full early, didn't even need to finish the pizza. He takes the game along with Rise.
Continuing to scout the direct area around them, a slight layer above, but it's Okus and Bucky who get caught out in this ultra low ground. Okus, in fact, barely managing to hold on for dear life, trying to do whatever he can to buy a little bit more time. Splashes now going to be used in the process here, but Okus, the walls are closing in around him. The duos are starting to sandwich him. It's only a matter of time.
Yeah, he got out of the claws of one team, but walked in to the aim of another. Now Zyro's having some cheeky shots over into the distance. That was Muzz and DJ who started this lobby focus, pressuring Okus, making him spend a lot of resources, Matt's heals, to try to get out of this position. And even then, he still has some ground to cover. Not much, but at least it's something. Cam and Jamper, much more distance to overcome as they're continuously trying to find anybody that gets left behind the zone. 375 above. Not necessarily looking for damage when it comes to Storm Surge, looking for anybody that's staggering themselves too far to the backside of zone.
But it's Cooper and Miro. They're so busy having to throw up builds in front of them that just keep getting shredded away at. They don't have time to actually protect themselves from the duos closing in on their backside. Pars, meanwhile, immediately eliminated the moment that he tries to challenge to a slightly higher layer. Thatch and Pamsound now doing what they can to remain safe for the time being. But Yamso and Rise, they need damage because it's getting close.
Yeah, they don't feel comfortable. No sense of it at all, but I thought I saw Kanata go down in the feed. They're still able to put on a good amount of points on the board, so even though he does get dropped, Ager's left by himself. Very, very capable of coming up big. You saw last season how confident Kanata was in his teammate, and typically it's Kanata who's forced to make big plays and clutch up a lot of these points as a solo, but 10th zone moving into 12. Slurp Juice popping a little early, some would say, when it comes to ages, but when you're in a solo, you need to be able to make it as far as you can, especially with 19 teams still alive. There's so many points still left on the board.
Thresh just completely catching a duo off guard. And that's the treacherous part, too, about maneuvering through a lot of these builds, Jacob. You never know when a wall might be opening. Cam, too much of an opening, left behind, gets knocked. Now Jamper forced to try and bear the weight alone. But Pamsound, Fatch, they're still making it happen. They're still managing to build through.
Nobody convincingly has height just yet. But as I say that, DGen goes for it along with Muzz. They protect themselves because they almost got taken down. Shot down by Booga and Threats, and you can see them getting separated. Booga's just trying to go to the front side of the zone, lead the charge. Jamper's doing what he can as a solo, even forces flashes earlier out than he would hope.
Over the water, though. This moving zone takes everyone hostage here. These players are going to have to continue building out.
A lot of those resources, typically you see a lot of players having in towards the end game. They're right out the window as you finally get into a top 10 situation. Zone hasn't even closed just yet, so you gotta pay attention to the timing if you are gonna start your heal off. But for the players, for Jamper, he's not gonna have that potential, so he's just trying to gatekeep and bust anybody's games on out. Degen and Muzz almost get chopped down, but Jamper doesn't have enough charges left on the Cadet's blade to make that one come through.
That's not gonna stop him, though, from trying yet again. Meanwhile, Rise, stuck in the water, stuck trying to build up, but he runs into another duo, gets a great connection, and it's gonna be Fatch who gets knocked because of it. Pamsound now forced to play this one alone, but Azers finally getting cleaned up in the process. He did what he could to make it just a little bit further with the placements. But Bugha and Threats, they started off in Steamy Springs, and they're making it all the way through still in Mega City.
This is where the heel off is going to begin. Threats. He's going to be the one to try to stop everybody all around, but he gets taken down early. Nothing for his efforts into the top 3. Zenetto trying to do the same thing, trying to just protect the Quinton the best that he can, and he's doing a magnificent job. And now he's up against Bugha, 1v1, trying to stop the heel off, doing such a magnificent job, but he goes down. That's the World Cup champion, Bugha, trying to rise to the occasion, but he runs out of heals. He runs out of opportunity, has to find the Quinton, but from one to the next, heals are running out. His slurp juice is all he has left, and he doesn't! Bugha takes the game by force!
He's not the world champ for nothing here, Jacob.
They're finding those eliminations. This is how they were finding those refreshes. But what a big play, because those were the mats. Those were the mats right there that saved Bugha, gave him time, and allowed him to clutch up tenfold.
The fact that he also managed to get that legendary slurp juice off in the nick of time, just not enough force there from DeQuinted at the very end. And
expecting around every single turn, Mero doing a good job to take control of the beast, and he's even trying to think outside of the box. A cheeky little angle where it's hard to build over. It's forcing them into another position, another rotation where the pieces are going to try to get stolen away. Mero just persistence, taking different angles, bobbing and weaving in and out. This is just absolute magnificent play coming out from Mero. Not letting his position go known. Somebody clip that one. I would love to watch it later. Now thinking about what you're going to do and how you're going to be able to gather it. As Agers goes down again from Scoped. Now it's up to Kanata again. Can he get the res? Is he playing it as a solo?
Kanata at least will find immediate revenge there by taking out Scoped himself. And it does appear as though he will successfully bring Azers back into the action here. A nice revive opportunity. Splashes now having been expended. A couple of minis still left as well, but Kanata is going to have to utilize both of them to get his shields back to 50. Those 2 splashes likely soon to follow here. Epicwell and Reet, though, slightly below Surge. Again, a beautiful shot connection, though, from Reet, going to ensure that he gets above. And now it's Kanata who's left to worry yet again. Reet, Epic Whale, trying to charge into their box.
Again, they're struggling when it comes to Storm Surge. Even with getting N-Pen and Polaroids earlier on in the same match, they're 1 below the damage threshold. A much better spot than they were in games ago, though. As time passes, they continuously fall below, but Epic Whale still finding opportunities to try to sneak some shots in, but just not enough as going up and below. Rexo is by himself. Reet wastes no time trying to get to the box. He's trying to do what he can, but under pressure, they got the tactical sidearm as well. Rexo goes down, and a huge moment for Epic Whale and Reet when it comes to Storm Surge, as they're now 146 above that threshold.
But look at Baka and Pars, so far above the entirety of the lobby. Meanwhile, at the very bottom, we're seeing one of our contenders for that first place spot, Rise and Iamzo, playing out in that low ground opportunity. It's area that they're familiar with, but this is an uphill battle for them, so to speak. As long as Pam's down faster in it, but Oki's huge shot onto Epic Whale, immediately returned though by Reet. And it seems as though Reet, he's not taking any survivors here. Now it's Bucky forced to play his life.
Huge turn and burn opportunity for Reet. Try to find anything that he's working with. Bugha and Threads trying to do the same thing. In the unlikely scenario that Pamsu and Fatch and Iamzo and Rise do go down, there's still more than enough points for Bugha and Threads to try to take that top spot along with Kanata and Agers. Pars and Baka trying to wish that one to fruition as well, as they're high above the rest, raining down shots from above, pressuring everybody into positions they don't necessarily want to be in, as Agers trying to lead the charge along with him and Kanata, find that spot that they can work with, but Kanata goes down. He gets lost along the way. Very terrible news, but for anybody up for the task, it is going to be Agers.
Pam Sound Fatch, though, they've started to make their climb up, and up with the kinetic blade, but Iamzo, Rise, they're still in it as well, but they have so many teams standing between them and finally working their way into those upper layers. Now, Rise, Iamzo, trying to be careful because there are so many leftover builds that these players are having to traverse back through. Yamzo, Pamstel, both of us having to be forcibly spectating to Pamstel nearly going down in the process. But we'll get off that slurp juice in time.
Yeah, as me stressed over watching that one, I can only imagine how he's feeling at this stage in the game. Forced to drop down low, out of mats, out of resources, out of time as well. 1v1 versus Trashy. Batch in to save the day. He's doing all he can, but the last of his slurp juices are going to be used. Cannot save Pamsel and get him back into this. And it means so much because it's 19 points. Still the difference between Yamzo and Rise, but he finds Booga slipping. One run comes to an end, and first place is open for the taking.
All the Yamzo and Rise have to do is make it out into this final moments here. Top 10 nearly secured. Top 10 is secured. Yamzo and Rise, they had their game time popped. Pars and Baka as well, just eliminating one player after the next. Next, he's going to be one of the first to fall. Epic Whale now being challenged here by Pars. Gets a decent shot off, but it's the refresh and then the time. Sure, though, making sure to take him out first.
Fall damage! Fall damage! It goes down to fall damage as the zone closed. A final four and a huge shot by G-Money to take out Reed, putting everything on the line. Zyro's getting pushed back into a corner. No options, but G-Money runs out of time. 1v1 scenario. Zyro's running out of heals, though. He's trying to backtrack, find anything to work with. Baka's already fresh out, and so is his luck. Zyro takes the game.
Zyro might have taken the game, but Yamzo and Rise just managing to hold on long enough.
Down. Yamzo and Rise almost managed to take away that #1 spot. A single difference of 3 points. That's a couple more placement. Even one